Every once in a while, we are fortunate enough here on Roll Call to be able to speak with someone who has performed an heroic act. And today, no exception, we have with us Officer Bud Renner of the Richardson, Texas Police Department. And Bud, we understand that you were involved in an act of heroism and didn't even know it at the time. Would you like to tell us what you did?
Well, Friday afternoon, my wife and I were driving to Richardson from our home in Rockwall, and semi with the front-end loader on the back of it ran off a bridge on Interstate I-30 and plunged into the water. And when that happened, we stopped, and I got out to see if there was anything that could be done, and could see that the driver had been thrown from the vehicle and was in the water. And all that I really did was go down to the west end of the bridge and go into from the bank, go into the water and swim out to him with a piece of rope and try to get him towards the shore.
Well, just so our viewers can appreciate this, the bridge that Officer Renner is referring to is about 30 feet above the water that the semi went over. And Bud, you had to swim out there about 200 yards, I understand, to get to the driver of the.
It was about 200 feet out to where the truck went in. He was while he was in the water, he had gotten hold of some debris. I believe it was the car seat or the truck seat out of his cab, and was hanging on to it and trying to get towards the shore. The problem was he seemed to be hurt pretty good. He had hurt his head in the accident.
Well, now that water is about 30 feet deep, as I understand, in that area. Is it?
That's my understanding.
So he had gone down a good ways.
Apparently so. He went under with the truck and somehow had been either thrown from the vehicle after the vehicle went underwater, or when he hit the water. I'm not real sure just exactly at what point he was got out of the vehicle.
Well, now you're a very humble man, but I understand that you were suffering from a lung ailment of some sort, which inhibited your swimming at some point.
Well, I had a lung infection that I'd been trying to get rid of for a couple of weeks, and I'd been out of work for about 4 days prior to this. I was just scheduled to go back to work that night.
So I guess you got a little fatigued.
You got a little worrisome there at first. Once I got out to him, and we were able to flag a boat over to the area and help pull him back to the shore.
So there were a number of people in the water in their boats just watching? Were they not helping?
There was 2 or 3 boats about 200 yards off, and I don't know that they were unable to tell that there were people in the water, or they just didn't realize what had happened. But I was able to get some of the people's attention up on the bridge and have them flag a boat over, and one of the boats finally did come over after I got to the driver. And once that boat got to us, I got a life jacket from him for myself and just told the driver to hang on to the seat since it was keeping him up pretty good. And then got a hold of his tow rope and got the driver back to shore that way.
How is the driver? Have you heard of his condition?
My understanding was that once I got him to the hospital and checked him out, he had a pretty bad cut to the head and possibly a broken ankle, but I never did hear for sure whether the ankle was actually broken.
Gentleman from East Texas, I believe, Mr. Leland Menifee, who I think will be fine despite the laceration. What was going on in your mind when this happened? What triggered you to take this action?
Well, I suppose it's the same thing that triggers any police officer to act. You've been trained over the years to react in a situation and size up what's going on and take whatever action you can. And I guess that's just what happened. I just tried to see what was going on and then reacted to it. Didn't really give it much thought at the time.
Officer Renner, our thanks to you for being on roll call today. Of course, this sort of thing happens around the country every day, but we just don't hear enough about it, and we want to say job well done.
Thank you.
You bet.